Charity, good evening, everyone, and I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Clarkdale for Tuesday, July 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Clark Memorial Clubhouse. Roll call, Vice Mayor Hunstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Babbitt Pierce.
Present.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
Councilmember Jones.
Present.
And please note that Mayor Prudhomme-Bauer is here. We have a quorum. Third item on the agenda is public comment. The Town Council invites the public to provide comment at this time. Members of the Town Council may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Persons, if you're interested in making public comment, I will invite you up to the podium to speak. Just state your name, and if you're a Clarkdale resident. If you're interested in an item that is on the agenda, please hold your comments until that item comes up. If there's anybody online, I don't see anybody, they would be invited to give public comment through our town clerk. So at this time, does anyone wish to come up and speak? Cody, I'm going to hold off on you for half a moment, okay? So I've got two people who would like to speak. We have Heather Markham Cheeseman and Paul Kreisman, excuse me. Either one of you come up first to speak and you get 5 minutes. And can somebody make sure the microphone is turned on, please?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, for having me. I would have been, I am able
Just
to
say your name and where you live.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Heather Markham Kreisman, and I am a resident of Clarkdale. And we actually live in Mountain Gate. I come to you before you today because I want to talk about independence. I can do this by Zoom, but it doesn't make as much of an impact as if you see me in person. Okay. Specifically, the fact that I can't get out of my neighborhood because the sidewalks literally end. Now, I wish it were a Shel Silverstein book. Oh, wait, it is. Except that this is impacting my independence. I have a map with me that I'd like to give to the town clerk to be passed around that highlights our house and then where the sidewalks actually literally just stop and fall off. Thank you. One of the things is I came here today because my husband brought me. I should be able to get here independently. I mean, I could call paratransit and yes, they will bring me with 24 hours notice. I cannot get to a bus stop independently, even if I wanted to take the long way around, which would be kind of fun and kind of tour the community. But this is my biggest concern, is independence. And I want to bring that to you today and say, as a plea, please help me be independent in Clarkdale.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Heather. Paul, come on up. You have 5 minutes. Just state your name and if you're a Clarkdale resident.
Yeah. I'm gonna write it on your card.
Yes, thank you to the council for allowing me to address you. My name is Paul Kreisman, resident of Clarkdale. As you heard Heather say, we live in Mountain Gate. And I wish to follow up her comments and extend them a little bit about something that may seem very prosaic, such as sidewalks, specifically the lack of sidewalks on Clarkdale Highway. This past week, I'm sure we all saw the wildfire that took place on Mingus Mountain behind Yavapai College. I'm a graduate Graduated last year from the viticulture and enology program. Seeing the wildfire in that area near the school, I watched it very closely. As we all know, that neighborhood, that area of the city was put on evacuation notice. Be prepared, be ready to go. If something similar happened in Mountain Gate, specifically close to our home, Heather and I live in a part of Mountain Gate that is right behind the fire station. So there's a large arroyo right off our backyard, and then the fire station is just off in the distance. If something similar happened, a lightning bolt struck in the arroyo and Mountain Gate suddenly goes up in flames, we are in serious trouble because, as Heather said, she cannot get out of the neighborhood. The lack of sidewalks on not only Clarkdale Highway, but the surrounding areas, Centerville Highway, Old Centerville Highway, both north and south, the sidewalks end. And that makes it extremely difficult and a serious safety hazard because she simply cannot get out of the neighborhood. So I know the council has considered the budget for the coming year. As you continue to talk about that, talk about allocations, how you're going to be spending that money, please consider allocating some of those funds for goal 4 of the city planning, maintenance of pavement and sidewalks, and allocate some money to look at building a sidewalk on Clarkdale Highway to ensure safety of my wife and myself.
Okay, thank you.
One last quick anecdote. I recently had to visit the hospital down on Highway 89A. And in the process of preparing to go to the hospital, we were faced with a decision about how to get there. If we called the paramedics and they took me to the emergency room, Heather would not be able to come to the ER with me because they're not going to put her in an ambulance. And calling paratransit was just out of the question. So there are numerous examples of why a sidewalk would be necessary and beneficial for us and our way of life here in Clarkdale. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, both of you. And I think Town Manager Guthrie has a few words.
So just as kind of an update, I don't know how much of this you're already aware of, but in case you're not, the Clarkdale Parkway sidewalk is currently under design. I will tell you it's going to be on the other side of the road, so you would have to cross at the roundabout.
There's no cut there.
Wait, so hold on, let me finish what I'm saying. Okay, so Clarkdale Parkway is under design right now, and the reason why it's going to be on the other side of the road is because of the huge wash that's on your side of the road. But thank you for alerting us that there's not a cut in the sidewalk so that you can make that crossing. We'll look at that as part of the project. And then our intention is it's once the design is complete, and we did get a grant to do that design, and it's with Ardura and it's well under design. But once we complete the design, we'll be applying for a grant to actually construct it. And that's if the developer who has been looking at that property doesn't move forward. If he does move forward, he will be required to construct that sidewalk. But if he doesn't move forward, we're applying for a grant to get that sidewalk done. And then the other thing is the other side, Centerville Road. We actually, have we applied for that grant yet? For the design for Centerville Road? Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So we applied for a federal grant to have that one designed. And what DK was just sharing was that we sent our application in, and then the federal government said, we're not going to move forward with these grants, but we will open it up in the future. Or we're looking for another grant that applies to that. But we have had our engineering firm do a very preliminary design of that so that we're equipped to go forward with a grant to get that one designed. And then on the upper Centerville Road, which would connect to 89A for you, that one we've acquired the properties that are needed to move forward with continuing Centerville Road all the way to 89A. Right now, they're under remediation and EPA review. So, but I just wanted to reassure you that it's well on our radar screen, and we are taking a lot of active steps to address that.
Thank you very much. That
You-
makes us very happy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much on that. Now I would like to call up Corey Harkey from Verde Valley Fire District. He would like to do a update on the fire that happened just outside of Haskell Springs area. But first, before he says anything, I just wanted to say thank you to our Clarkdale Police Department, Verde Valley Fire Department, the surrounding community, public assistance entities, the National Forest Service for being right on top of that. It was very important to see, and it was great to see such cooperation happening and quickness of getting that fire out. I know it was a very difficult area where it happened. It was a lightning strike, and I know you're going to say more about it, but everybody was on top of it, and quickly we got taken care of. Took a couple days, but everybody was on it, and my heartfelt appreciation for the work that was done by all of you.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Again, my name is Cody Harkey. I'm a battalion chief with Verde Valley Fire District. I do not live in the town of Clarkdale, but I'm here representing your fire department. So, as most of us in the room know, on July 3rd, a lightning strike caused a fire above Yavapai College in the hills, right behind the college. That was about 11:30 or so in the afternoon on the 2nd. The initial wave of response through the Cottonwood Communications Center was from your fire district, a Type 1 engine, a Type 6 engine, a water tender, and myself as the responding duty officer that day, along with a Type 6 engine from the city of Cottonwood. All responded to the initial reports of that fire. Based on what I could see right off the bat coming out of the station, the admin station on Highway 260, I could see the smoke on the side of Mingus. I requested a notification to the U.S. Forest Service early on, just due to where the location of that fire was. All the responding units staged at the upper parking lot of Yavapai College initially until we could get an idea of the size, rate of spread, and just the location of where that fire was. We all met there. We got a look at it. I believed it to be about 5 acres by that time. It was moving pretty quick growing, but it was wind driven and it was moving to the south away from the residents on Haskell Springs Road, which was good. I could see that smoke column laying down and it was moving away from those residents. Repositioned your Type 1 engine that came out of this station here up at those residents on Haskell Springs, just in case the wind shifted or there was any change. We had a unit up there ready to go. We'll continue to stage for the arrival of the Forest Service just based on the location being so far off of the roadway or any points of access for us to get our response vehicles into. And once the Forest Service and a representative from the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management arrived on scene relatively quickly, we kind of created what's called a unified command with Clarkdale PD, myself, and those resources, and decided what the best course of action to engage the fire was. And what that was to not engage the structural resources from the fire district or the city of Cottonwood, just based on the location and the complexity of how to access that fire. So we kind of just supported the Forest Service in the state from there on, and they started requesting resources very early. There was an air attack plane that came over and flew the fire before any of the aircraft was requested. There was 2 helicopters, a Type 1 helicopter and a Type 2 helicopter. The difference is the Type 1 helicopter has a big snorkel, carries about 2,000 gallons of water. And the Type 2 helicopter has a big bucket below on a lead that is 300 to 500 gallons usually, along with some other resources they had requested. Those two aircraft delivered a little over 13,000 gallons of water from the air on that fire that day. And by the evening of the second, it was 13,500 if you needed an exact. That was what I got from the Forest Service. By the evening of the second, there was about 56 personnel working on the fire. So and that was the state crews, the Forest Service from our local forests here, the Payson Hot Shots, that crew was on that fire too. So there was a ton of resources that engaged really quickly to help get that fire under control. That got us through the main work period of the July 2nd, the day of the fire start. And the fire growth really died down once the winds died down. The topography, the sporadic fuels, and the lack of wind really helped us. And so the fire behavior really died down after a few hours. Made for a good show for sure if you were watching it and seeing it to see that smoke in the area. But we were fortunate that it kind of ran out of fuel and the wind stopped pushing it. The morning of the 3rd, they re-engaged about 45 personnel on that fire from the state and the forest and worked until the rain ran them off of the mountain. So the rains of the afternoon of the 3rd brought everybody off the hill for safety and pretty much put that fire to bed, which was helpful. Put out any warm or hot spots they were working on up there. And following that, on the 4th, I believe the forest just had one engine that had checked on it for a day or so to make sure it was totally out and totally contained. The acres I got was 51.5 was the total acres. And it went about 2 to 3 days in length.
Okay.
That's all I have as far as an update. Unless there are any questions for myself or the fire district.
Any questions to?
Don't think we can ask questions during public comment, can we?
Because this is a special report, if you allow me just make you can make a brief comment, no question. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
So, not as a council member, I am able to comment. And so, I just, of
Sorry,
course,
Decker.
obviously want to thank you guys. We were on scene. We really were, so impressed with y'all's work and the coordination between all the different agencies. So thank you so much. But I also just, on topic, wanted to remind everyone that, Clarkdale PD and, our PIO, we established our emergency operations center here, and we also participated in the incident command at the scene. But we use two technologies to communicate for evacuations. One is Genesis, but our primary tool, and all the other entities use Genesis as well. So that's why we participate in Genesis, so we can coordinate with other agencies. But our primary tool is the Civic Ready app. And that's how we tell people, hey, get ready, set, or go. And so if you're not registered for that app, if you live on that side of 89A and didn't get a text that day, then you need to make sure you're registering on Civic Ready and do that on our website. There's a particular place that if you click emergency notifications, we really need you to register, because that is the way that we'll be letting you know it's time to go. So it's just a good on-point timing for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. If there's nobody else wanting to do public comment. Seeing no one come forward, nobody online wishing to speak. Okay, let's move on to reports. Under current events in your packet online are the reports from Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council Member. Under my report, I just wanted to make note that of the passing of a longtime Clarkdale resident and the Executive Director of the Verde Valley Senior Center, Elaine Bremner. Many of us knew her in different capacities, but we can say she was a She was the face of the senior community in all of the Verde Valley. And we're sad of her passing. I understand that the interim executive director is Aaron Mayberry. So I think the center is in good hands as it transitions. And I believe there will be a celebration of life somewheres, I think around the July 22nd, 26th is what I've heard. I don't know time. So just please note it on Facebook. It'll be posted on Facebook or through the senior center itself. So with that, let's move on to organizational reports. VVTPO, Verde Valley Transportation Planning Organization.
No meeting.
NACOG, Northern Arizona Council of Governments.
Yes, there was a meeting on the 26th and Councilmember O'Neill attended in my absence. I did attend the executive committee meeting prior to that, though.
Okay.
Thank you. The regional council meeting basically did a recap of last year and moving forward into the coming year with reduced funding and how they're all coping with it. And the big thing for Clarkdale, I think, is that the CDBG grant distribution methodology is going to change a little bit because Prescott Valley is no longer involved in the pool because they are big enough to be on their own. So that's going to change for us a little bit, and there's a little less money because of that. If you want details, I'll be happy to discuss them, but that's basically the gist of it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. NAMWA, Northern Arizona Municipal Water Users Association.
We meet on not this Friday, but next Friday.
Transportation Planning Advisory Council.
Yes, we meet on Thursday, and I am very anxious for this meeting because we are talking about the regional priority projects list, and they will not be adding any new projects to the list. A couple of them were funded in this legislative term, so those will be removed, but they're really trying to decrease the budget that they ask for in the coming year. So we do have projects on that list, and I'm very grateful to town staff for continually being on top of that because nothing new is going to be added.
Okay. It's hard to decrease our budgets when they're I think well thought out, and the cost of doing them is just the cost of doing them.
I think in meeting with DK and Lou, what we're going to propose is potentially taking our Luke Lane project and breaking it into phases just so that we can get it to us, because that project right now is estimated $11 million. And so we're going to probably break it into at least two pieces so that it can be more manageable.
Okay.
And we're under discussion with NACOG on that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Verde Front Leadership Council meets the end of July. Sustaining Flows Committee.
No meeting.
Yavapai Communities for Young Children.
No meeting.
Vulnerable Road Users, SHSP Emphasis Area Team.
Yes, we met on Monday. SHSP is the State Highway Safety Plan. And so we're talking specifically about vulnerable users as cyclists and pedestrians and what ADOT can do as they are planning new roadways. And then a ton of education about the laws for cycling. And I did not realize that it actually depends on municipalities. In some places, it is legal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk, and in some places, it is not legal. And so that ends up being pretty tricky when you're doing enforcement, because nobody knows what the laws actually are. So an education piece is going to be forthcoming, and I will share when it's ready.
Thank you so much. NACOG Community Action Board.
No, our next meeting is in August.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item 5, was just a memorandum to council for a special event liquor license recommendation from the provided by the Clarkdale Police Department for the upcoming annual Clarktoberfest on October 4th, 2025. Okay, so let's move on to the consent agenda. There are 4 items on consent this evening. We have approval of the minutes of June 24th. We have ordinance 440, a zoning change request for a single family and limited multifamily, R2 to commercial. We have an ordinance 442, amending the final plat for the crossroads at Mingus. And D, which is personnel budget increase for community development. Did anyone wish to pull any of these items for discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the 4 items in consent.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve consent agenda items A through D as written.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember O'Neill and seconded by Vice Mayor Hunsetter to approve consent agenda items A through D as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Let's move on to item 7 in new business. Our first item is ordinance 441, amending Town Code Chapter 17 to clarify design review responsibilities. This is for us to discuss, consider, and act upon ordinance 441, amending Town Code Chapter 17, Boards and Commissions, Article 17-5, Planning Commission, and Section 17-5-4, Design Review. And Assistant Town Manager Ruth Mayday will speak to this topic. Welcome.
Good evening. Excuse me, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have ordinance 441. This is basically a cleanup after the adoption of the historic preservation ordinance. We went back through to review and make sure that we caught any conflicts, missed this one in town code. And so this will simply clean up that language stating that the design review for buildings in the historic buildings electing not to participate in the historic preservation ordinance are by Planning Commission and not Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments for Ruth?
Just a comment that I think that this is what we all originally voted for. And so I'm grateful that we have cleaned it up to make sure that our intentions are clear and that everything is in alignment. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this? Okay. We have somebody from the audience who wishes to speak on this. Is it okay if we open it up to public comment? Okay. Yeah, please come on up and state your name and if you're a Clarkdale resident. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, Mike Lindner, resident of Clarkdale. I guess I'd like to comment and disagree that this is a cleanup item. Throughout the formulation of the ordinance and the discussions and several meetings we had with property owners, it was always stated that buildings in the historic district, whether or not they had opted in, were going to be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. I attended the very confusing meeting that we had for the newsstand public hearing, and kind of wondered to myself, why is it that the Planning Commission is involved with this when the intent was historic preservation should be doing that? Design review should really be design, not other types of things like economic factors and those types of things. So the question I posed at that last meeting was, how did this language get changed from all the public meetings that we did have, where it said that it was the Historic Preservation Commission that would do the reviews? And after the meeting, town manager Susan Guthrie pulled me aside and assured me that my understanding of the intent and what the ordinance that passed is exactly what I just stated, that it was going to be the Historic Preservation Commission that would do the design review for all buildings in the historic district, regardless as to whether or not they opted in or not. So I left happy. I did not intend to come to the meeting tonight, but I did review the agenda real quickly and couldn't believe my eyes that, wait a second, the wording is going back. So again, the question is, how did that wording get changed? In the meetings with the Planning Commission, there was a lot of discussion with the chair and the members that there is a distinction between opting into an ordinance and being included in the historic district. And that change in wording didn't come up. So I'm very confused at what is the source of this wording change and what is the intent? It appears to me that we're trying to dilute the importance of the historic district by having qualified people review the designs. And that, in fact, was pretty evident at the meeting that we had about the newsstand. There was one commissioner on the Planning Commission that made a statement that, I like the design because I like bars. And that may not be the direct quote, but that was pretty much the comment. And again, that's not a design criteria. It's not strictly reviewing the design. And so I really feel that the Historic Preservation Commission should be involved with the review of all structures within the historic district. One thing that I'd like to point out is that we went out of our way when we were dealing with property owners specifically down in the industrial area to redraw the lines so that only the historic buildings were included in the district and that all new construction would be modern and subject to a different type of review. So I think that a lot of thought was put into it, and I'm not really sure, again, how is this wording getting into the ordinance without public debate and what the intent is. So I am objecting to this change, and I guess that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ruth, could you give us some background on all of this or attempt to answer the question?
I'd be happy to. So we had two roundtable discussions with property owners, and there were two owners of buildings or representatives of owners of buildings who were adamant that they did not feel they could be fairly judged by the Historic Preservation Commission because they strenuously objected to the historic district overlay. So that language was added at their behest. That was in part of the version that went to town council. There was ample opportunity and notice for the discussion of that ordinance. So really all of this is doing is making the town code conform to zoning code.
Any questions for Ruth on this?
I know that we previously had the design review board as a separate entity, and we have now combined them into the Planning Commission.
Mhm.
Is some of the confusion happening because of that combining?
So I think that's part of the issue. So I don't want to get off too much on the newsstand because that's really not what this ordinance involves. But that original public hearing took place before there was even a historic preservation ordinance. It was a joint meeting between two boards. And so we brought those two entities, the Planning Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission, back together for that specific project.
So just to clarify, the ordinance we're basically changing was an ordinance that was put in place before we had the historic preservation ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Just want to make sure that's clear. So it was dealing with a situation that we had very little guidance on at that time. Correct? And bringing together both the design review and historic preservation commission was a way to have them work together with what we had on the books.
Correct. So initially, when the newsstand was initially heard, the Historic Preservation Commission was newly appointed. And there was no mechanism to include them other than to hold a joint hearing so that they could have some input on it. That's the only reason we went back to a joint hearing when we had to reconsider the window situation.
And that
Otherwise, it
wasn't-
would have
but
gone
that-
straight to planning commission as
Right,
designed.
and that wasn't the only project. I believe a similar thing was used when the Plateau
Correct.
condominiums were going through design review. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions?
Am I correct in stating that when we did the merge, we pulled people from both
Correct.
boards to come up? So we still have that talent and aptitude
Correct.
contained within the new planning and zoning / design.
Actual, off the top of my head, we have at least one architect and somebody else with design experience on planning commission.
Any other questions or comments for Ruth?
I guess I just want to make sure I understand. So the way that, and I agree with you, the way my understanding is that we passed these ordinances so, and excuse me if I'm not using the perfect terminology, so that if somebody is opting in to the historic district, their building or their process gets reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission.
Correct.
And if they do not opt in, then it goes to the Planning Commission / Design Review Board.
Correct.
Yes.
And if they opt in, there's certain benefits to doing that.
Correct. So when they opt in, the town council, as part of that approval, waived permit fees for projects who opt into the historic district. So those who don't opt in don't get permit fees waived,
Got it.
among other things, but that was the biggest thing.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Ruth? So hearing none, I'll take a motion. Does anyone wish to present a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance 441, amending the town code, chapter 17, boards and commissions, article 17-5, planning commission, and section 17-5-4, design review, and authorize the mayor, town attorney, and town clerk to execute all documents.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved by Councilmember Babbitt Pierce and seconded by Councilmember Jones to approve ordinance 441, amending the town code as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item B, which ordinance 443, adoption of the 2025-26 property tax levy. This is our final step in our very complete and thorough budget process. Discuss and consider an act upon our ordinance 443, adopting the primary tax levy in the amount of amount of 0.13443 per hundred of the assessed valuation for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026. As you know, at the last meeting, we had the truth in taxation public hearing. This is the follow-up to that to adopt the ordinance. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Town Manager Guthrie to speak to this topic.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I chose not to represent the budget presentation because I thought y'all would drag me out of here since I think you saw it 4 different times. But this is the final step in the very lengthy budget process. We did do everything required by the state, including notices in the newspaper on 2 different weeks. We did our public hearing. We adopted the budget. We also, as part of our public hearing, then approved a resolution stating the intent to set our tax levy. So today we're actually here to set the tax levy. And as I shared with you in the last meeting, we have chosen to keep the rate exactly the same as the current year, which is less than each year we've decreased it over the last 3 years. And so this just keeps it stable from the current year. And that is a rate of $1.3, I'm going to say it as a point instead, 1.3443. And that results in revenue of $728,000. Oh.
Oh, hey,
Okay.
time's up.
So again, 1.3443 raises 728,000, and that helps fund general fund, which includes things like police, parks, streets, public works, things of that nature. So with that, I think I'm happy to answer any questions, or Councilmember O'Neill has the motion that needs to be worded in a particular manner.
Okay, is there any questions for Town Manager Guthrie on this? We're done. We get this, we're almost done. So with that, I'll take a motion. Lisa?
Madam Mayor, I move that the council approve ordinance number 443, setting a primary property tax rate equating to $1.3443, which is sufficient to generate a primary property tax levy of $728,000.
There is a second to that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember O'Neill and second by Councilmember Babbitt Pierce to approve the property tax rate as presented. And for those of you, we took the language directly out of the ordinance itself, so we could be very specific. So it is as presented by the maker of the motion. On this, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Vice Mayor Hunsetter.
Approve.
Councilmember Babbitt Pierce.
Approve.
Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Jones.
Approve.
Mayor Prudhomme Bauer approves. The motion passes. Yay. Yay, we are done. Now we really are done. Thank you all, staff, again, for getting us to July 8th, 2025. Okay, let's move on to item C, which is FY 2025-26 pavement management. This is to discuss, consider, and act upon proposals from Cactus Asphalt for pavement preservation in the amount not to exceed $690,000 and $690,000, yeah. And as I think all of you know, that was in our budget that we just approved. And with that, we have Public Works Director Lou Anderson, who's going to speak to this topic.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, Lou Anderson, Public Works. As you know, last March, you approved a $1.6 million pavement prez program for the town of Clarkdale to try to get our pavement back to drivable conditions and get to a 10-year remaining service life. We were averaging about 12, 13, but we just ran the numbers with the treatments we did in 24, 25, and we're about just over 10 years of service life on all of our roads. So we're getting there. This is year 2, as you know, of the program. This year, we're asking for $690,000. The projects that I alluded to remind you, though, last year we also did crack seal in some of the areas that we knew we were coming back this year if you approved this. So we did crack seal treatments in Lower Clarkdale, patio park area, as well as Centerville. So this is kind of the follow-up to that. The proposals for 25-26 include a slurry and micro seal on South Broadway Road, our phase 1 of South Broadway here, the sidewalks as well. And then we're going to use a thermal traffic striping. So the thermal, it'll last longer. It'll look better. We got some feedback from our last meeting with the citizens and they wanted a different treatment. So that's going to cost about an extra $40,000, but I think it'll be well worth it, particularly with the park and the crosswalks and things like that.
Right.
The patching of 10th and 2nd Street, we had some issues with the integrity of the roadway there on 10th and also on 2nd. We're going to come in and mill that 2 feet section out and repave that.
Okay.
That's $23,000. And then we're going to chip fog in Centerville, Patio Park, Sky Drive, and along with overlay on Rio Vista in Lower Clarkdale. So with that, it is budgeted. Staff recommends authorizing the town manager to sign all documents necessary to execute the proposal from Cactus Asphalt for pavement pres not to exceed the proposed amount of $690,000.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Lou on this?
Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you. Looking at this map is really, really exciting. That's a lot of coverage. And thank you also for using the cooperative agreement and getting us the best rate possible.
Yeah, we love the map.
Love the map. I can't take credit for the map. I just gave some guidance, but Virginia did the map for us. She's been taking the ArcGIS classes to try to help with mapping. So it's been very, very helpful.
I love it. I think in context for some people in the room is that we went through a pavement management analysis a year and a half ago. We determined the priority for which streets get done when. And so over, once we get this project done, we will have put in over 2.3 million almost into streets over 2-year period. That's pretty significant for us with a long-term commitment to continue upgrading roads as the priority list suggests. So, I mean, it's great to see what we've been able to accomplish and will through this this year too. So this is great. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one.
Lou knows.
And then her.
I just hope the work will be done when the temperature is right. Because we had a couple of problems. That wasn't just due to temperature,
No.
but I also think doing this work when it was over 90 degrees on some this year did not help the process. So I'm just hoping we do it when the timing is right. The temperature is cooperative. How's that?
And
But thank you.
Vice Mayor Hansen.
Yes, I'm just excited to see that we're doing projects. It's been a long time since we've even focused on the roads until a couple of years ago. And so I'm excited to see that we're going back and fixing a lot of stuff that's broken, but as well as maintaining things that have been done so that we can achieve full life expectancy on these roads. And I'm really excited to see Centerville on the map this time. So that's great. And you're right. The more color we add to this, the better it is. Thank you.
Any other comments for Lou? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the proposal from Cactus Asphalt for pavement preservation in the amount not to exceed 690,000 and authorize the town manager to execute all documents.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Mayor Hunsetter and seconded by Councilmember Jones to approve the proposal from Cactus Asphalt for pavement preservation as presented. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you so much, Lou.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item 7D, which is Tiffany Construction Proposal and Contract for Third North Sewer Project number 223371. Discuss, consider, and act upon the proposal from Tiffany in the amount of $1,863,712.73 for the Third North Sewer Replacement Project. Oh, long time in coming to spend these dollars. We have Josh Tomerlin, our Utilities Director, will speak to this topic.
Thank you. Mayor.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank you, council members. So we're here to discuss the Third North Sewer Project number 223371 for Tiffany Construction's proposal and contract. The original 100-year-old 6-inch clay sewer line for Third North Street is still in use and runs through backyards and residential parcels, underneath structures and under pools. The sewer line has several issues that impede its function, maintenance, and repair. Council originally awarded design of the sewer realignment to Ardura on November 14th of 2023. Notifications were mailed to residents that would be impacted, and there's a neighborhood meeting held on October 3rd of 2024. And then Ardura met with town staff and each property member at their parcel to make sure any necessary final adjustments to the design of the project. On March 11th, 2025, the town council approved resolution 1733 for a clean water revolving fund loan from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, also known as WIFA, and the amount of $2 million for assistance in funding the construction of the Third North Sewer Realignment Project. The scope of the work includes replacing and realigning the sewer main and service connections for approximately 23 homes, realigning and replacing the water main and services for approximately 8 of those homes to meet sewer and water line spacing regulations, along with restoring of residences' yards, sidewalks, and roadways that are impacted by this work. We will be utilizing a cooperative contract from Coconino County Flood Control District, JOC, RFQ 2023-105 with Tiffany Construction. Tiffany Construction's proposal for the Third North Sewer Replacement Project estimated amount is $1,863,712.73. The budget that it'd be coming from is CIP S09, account 11-50800-8002, WIFA loan funds. The WIFA CWRF loan in the amount of $2 million is expected to cover all the construction costs with annual loan repayments of approximately $72,138 for the duration of the 25-year loan. The town does qualify for $600,000 in loan forgiveness from WIFA. Staff recommends the town council approve the Third North Street Sewer Project proposal from Tiffany Construction and authorize the town manager to sign all documents necessary to execute the Third North Sewer Project and allow the town manager to approve the change orders up to a total project amount of $2 million. This aligns with strategic goal area 4, plan for the maintenance and growth of quality infrastructure that is sustainable and resilient.
Any questions for Josh? I just have one thing in the contract that I saw. The hours for the construction in the contract states 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But we just passed the ordinance last meeting to conform with state hours of beginning 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So can you address?
Have made Lou aware of that, and we will notify Tiffany of that change in our ordinance.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
Just want to make note that they can be in conformance with what we just passed.
Correct. And
With
we'll be
this
working
contract.
with the residents on a one-on-one basis to make sure that we're not disturbing them too much. And we understand 5 o'clock's pretty early for a lot of residents.
There
So we
might
may be
be,
doing work outside of the residents and then, whatever we do to work with them individually.
I figured you would, but I know that part of it isn't dealing with the residents, it's the street. So if they can start earlier, that helps also to get it done quicker.
Josh, do we have an estimate on how long this project is going to take? I know there's a lot of detailed work going in between homes.
I'll know more about that. I think it's going to be at least 6 months. So it's going to be a pretty good duration. They've got quite a bit of work to do and quite a bit of work in the road. So.
Thank you.
As well, as soon as they get documents, Tiffany is chomping at the bit. We've already started preliminary doing blue stakes and stuff like that. So as soon as we get them the documents, as early as the end of this month, they will start working on, putting in submittals for the materials that they're going to be using, laying out things. We'll be moving pretty quickly on this project.
Vice Mayor Hunter.
Yeah, I just want to comment that I'm glad to see that this is finally coming to fruition. I attended that neighborhood meeting back in October, and it seemed like such a daunting project. It was going to be very expensive, and it's going back and not necessarily fixing something that was wrong. They're 100-year-old pipes that were laid by then it was a company town, and it didn't matter where they were. It all belonged to the company. So going back and writing that and helping residents not have sewage come up in their yards or their homes. Just, it was a monumental project. So I want to thank the town manager and all of staff that came up with some creative solutions on how we were going to get this funded, because it just was just a phenomenal amount of money, but it was a great amount of work, and working with WIFA and to have that loan forgiveness possibility. It's amazing that this is coming to pass. And I just want to thank everyone for their contribution to that.
Lisa.
Yeah, as far as the funding goes, I thought it was going to be 3 million, so.
Yeah.
Then, how will the affected residents be notified? Are you going to go door to door again or send them?
Yeah, so currently right now I'm going door to door, notifying them, getting TCEs signed by them. So temporary construction easements. And then we'll be working with the contractor and notifying them weeks, months in advance, saying we're going to be working on this section and we'll let you know when you get to your house. And so that when how you're going to be affected and be working one-on-one with the contractor, with the residents. So they understand like, hey, during this time period, we're going to be cutting your pipe. Don't shower or flush your toilet. Type thing. So
Charity, can you tell me how many of the residents have already signed the documents to go forward? Because there were what, 27?
yeah, there's 23.
23, excuse me, 23 properties.
We've had approximately 10 come in and sign. I'll be recording 6 of those tomorrow with the county and then sending some others out for our attorney to sign. But right now I have about 10 of them signed.
Okay. So
I do have a couple that, 2 of them, the other signers are out of state.
Oh.
And so we are working with the one signer and their other party to see how we can get that document to the other party and get that signed as well. So.
So we're almost to half of them are underway. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I've got meetings with residences throughout this week to hand them their copies, trying to find them when they're at home. So trying, morning, afternoon, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So that if they have any questions, we can hit those head on.
Good. Be great to see progress start on this. It's, as we know, we've needed to get this done. We got the funding together for it and we're getting it started. So it's absolutely great. Because that's been such a problem down there with the sewer and that'll just make life so much better in that area and less costly to us, because every time we had to go back down to deal with it, we were having to spend, much more money pumping it and trying to clean it up. And for the next problem, that next time it was just going to continue to happen. So this is great. So is there any other questions or comments for Josh? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that the council approve the proposal from Tiffany Construction in the amount of $1,863,712.73 for the North Sewer Replacement Project and allow the town manager to approve change orders to not exceed $2 million.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Jones and seconded by Councilmember O'Neill to approve the proposal from Tiffany Construction for the Third North Sewer Replacement Project as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you so much, Josh. Okay, item 7E is FY 2024-25 budget transfers. This is to discuss, consider, and act upon the budget transfers for the 24-25 fiscal year. This is something we do every year. So I have Town Manager Guthrie is going to speak to this topic.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As the mayor said, this is completely routine. We do this every year. We will come back probably at least one more time. Once all invoices and credit card charges are in for the year end, just to make sure that we balance in each department. State law does not allow us to increase our total budget, but it does allow for transfers within departments within the town. So that's what we're doing today. Right now, we have 4 transfers that we're making. One of them was for the exterior of this building. We originally only budgeted 45,000, I think, to do the north soffit repair, but we started noticing a lot more deterioration in the building. And so we brought it to you and you authorized us to move forward with restuccoing the entire building and repainting it and doing a lot of repairs. We, at that time, we asked to pay for that out of contingency, but we don't actually pay for things out of contingency. So they get assigned a CIP budget number, and we assigned that project to the North Soffit Repair Project. And so we are transferring the money to cover that project from contingency into that project line item. We have a small increase in the finance department due to having a temporary staff member through an agency. We have miscellaneous line items in public works. I looked at these very closely, and the majority of the overages were in things that were not within the control of staff, i.e. water costs. Electricity costs for the charging station were significantly higher than we had anticipated, and we'll have a future discussion about that, but we do have to cover the costs. And that's it.
Okay. Any questions for Town Manager Guthrie?
Just to comment that I am really grateful that you are so on top of the budget all the time and noticing that we have money to spend to do important projects like this building. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Any other comments for Susan? Hearing none, I will take a motion on this.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the budget transfers as presented for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Hunsetter and second by Councilmember Babbitt Pierce to approve the budget transfers as presented for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. That's all of our new business. We'll move on to item 8, which is future agenda items. I believe Charity has given us a list of what's coming up, which doesn't look like a whole lot of anything. Oh my gosh. But I'm sure it will get expanded out for our next meeting on July 22nd. Are there any other items we wish to put on there for the 22nd? Hearing
Mayor?
none.
No,
Yes.
there was an issue that was brought up to all of us with our November meetings, that the first one falls on a holiday
Oh,
and the
that's
second
right.
one falls on the week of a holiday. And sometime we need to discuss how we're going to handle town business.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a
Put that
council
on the
meeting.
agenda is discussion of our November meeting. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah.
Recommendation will be based upon how many items, if any, we have for that meeting. And if we really have, you know, a lot of items that are building up, then I probably will recommend a special meeting on that, probably that week of Veterans Day, but I'd like to wait to set that until we see how many items we have.
Sure, sure. I think we're aware that that's going to happen. Okay, anything else? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Hunsetter and seconded by Councilmember Babbitt Pierce to adjourn the meeting at 7:04 PM. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Okay.